Hey, hey there, MSPs and IT pros. Welcome to another episode of the RocketMSP podcast. I'm your host, Steve Taylor, and today I am joined by Matt from Thread. Oh yeah, he's wearing threads.
There you go. Got the swag. How are you today, Steve?
I'm doing awesome, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
So let's dive in, man. So I had Bobby on, I don't know, a couple months ago now.
Mhm.
And we had a really great conversation. I love the product. Okay. I'll just come out and say it. You've got a really cool product. It's very like the UI UX, it's clean. Okay. I can tell you guys had a nice investment round. You were able to put that into the look and feel of the product. So kudos there.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think for us, we view design as a competitive differentiator in the space. I think a lot of what we've seen in the past, and I've been in the industry for a little over 10 years now, 11 years, is that the interface sometimes gets lost when you're focused on value. We're trying to do both. So one of our first hires was a head of design. We call him our chief magic officer.
I love it. I love it. So, when thinking about chat, most of the time people think about that little bubble in the bottom right or bottom left of a website. And it's got the little message icon on it, or maybe it says chat with us. And it's just some janky little thing that's usually managed or powered by HubSpot or Intercom or one of the other dozens or hundreds of chat tools that are out there. But yours goes beyond that. In fact, yours, it has that feature. We can add the bubble to the website, but that was, I don't want to call it an afterthought. It just isn't its primary function.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that was the original insight that we had, was that there was no kind of multi-tenant, multi-platform or omni-channel product purpose-built for MSPs. And so, when we used to be ChatGenie in a former life, we were really focused on that internal chat ops use case. Are you leaving for the day? Are you going on lunch? And trying to kind of unify the context of the request and the conversation of the request in Slack, where the conversation is happening. And the inflection point for us was when we realized, we really can't be effective in driving the outcomes that we need to without inviting the customer, without inviting the user into the conversation. And in so doing, we can optimize on both sides and between.
Good. Now, I also recently had Chat Style on the show, and I know you're not the kind of person that's going to sit here and badmouth them. I don't want you to. I like the guy. He's a nice guy. It's a great looking product. Their product, I think the big differentiator between your product and their product is you also have a web interface where we can manage all this stuff. So the technician doesn't have to be working out of our internal Slack or Teams. We can be working right on the Thread website.
Yeah, and we do have Mac OS and Windows OS apps as well as the web app. But we view ourselves as a service experience platform, and that must include both sides of the equation, as I mentioned before. So not only are we meeting your customers and your users where they work, could be their desktop, could be their own website, SMS, WhatsApp coming soon, but Teams and Slack primarily. We also want to meet your team, your being the MSP, where it is that they work and will be most effective in getting the job to be done, if that makes sense.
It does. So when I had you on last, I shared the interview with some people in my peer group, and I know one of them signed up for it right away. He was super excited, and of course, it just happened to be him, right? He was one of the guys in that small subset And I got to ask you about this, man.
Mhm.
So there was an issue in the last month or two where there was a small subset, and I don't even know how small. You said it was small. I don't know what small is for you. Is that a dozen? Is that three? Is that 100?
Yeah,
But
it was a handful. It was four folks.
okay.
Yeah, I'll let you finish, but yeah, definitely want to address it.
So, hearing both sides of it. So I've heard it from this MSP,
Mhm.
what their experience was like. I read your response on a very public Reddit post
Mhm.
to that MSP, and I think I kind of understand both sides. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
they're upset because what ended up happening was somehow Thread overwrote like address line one for a group of this MSP's clients.
Mhm.
Now, what I was unclear about was in that post, and man, you'd think I would have that post up and ready. You used the words, this was a partner initiated thing. Are you saying that the MSP did something and pushed out that change, unfortunately?
No, no, no. So, what I meant by that is it was a manual trigger item. So it's not like any changes or anything being overwritten was happening at scale. It was a manual click to activate a feature, and that would have had to be done on a per site basis. So it's not like one flag got turned on and then everybody was overridden. It was on a per site basis, and thankfully, it was identified pretty quickly, and that's why the exposure was quite small.
Gotcha. So somebody in your team, hit a button, checked a box.
No, 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 no. It was
It was the MSP.
right. So it was a more of a QA issue than anything else, right?
Gotcha.
Feature should have been tested more diligently, and we've adjusted our SOP and QA kind of peer coding testing procedures accordingly to make sure that we're not only testing automated features and functionality, that we're also testing features that are initiated by a checkbox and or a manual action. That's all I meant, is that it's something that would have only happened to a subset because it was literally a click flag turn on a per site basis.
Gotcha.
So
That makes sense. So the good news is it only happened to the clients that he clicked on. And those are clients that he's already got an agreement with. So theoretically, he should be able to pop into his QuickBooks, do a little copy paste. It sucks, but it's not the end of the world.
yeah, I mean, for us, we do take any matter of that nature very seriously, because it is very serious, and the implications, if something were to be overlooked on a grander scale, are big, right? Having been in the seat, my co-founder and I, we were both at an MSP called RFA, based out of New York for 10 years each. Him more on the data and development services side, me more operationally, all the way up through chief of staff. One of the teams that I ran was the PSA administration team, and so we know exactly how impactful something like that could be. Uh, Thankfully, it was contained, and we were able to identify it quickly and worked to remediate with said partner and partner subset. But yeah, 1,000,000% take it seriously.
Okay. Great. So let's talk about what your changes were to your whole, coding and pushing out changes and testing things. What does that look like now?
Yeah, certainly. So we have a very robust team nowadays, certainly post investment, and we have folks kind of. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds, but they're separated into two distinct teams who, before anything's released, they kind of cross test releases before they go out. So we're doing automated testing, we're doing manual testing, and we also looked at our backup policy, and lengthen that window as well.
Perfect. And what would you say you learned from this?
Yeah. I think the backup piece was really important, and I think just diligence in and standing up the framework, diligence in testing, and documenting proof of said testing, and then also making sure that we have the ability to, and we do, communicate both via email and also directly in messaging platform of choice should there be an issue.
Cool. All right, let's move on to lighter topics. Let's talk about religion. No, I'm kidding. What's your political view? No. So what was that?
But how about sports? Just going down the list.
Yeah. How about them Browns? All right. So let's talk about your product. You've made changes to it. Hopefully you've added some new features in the last couple months. Why don't you tell us what's going on?
Absolutely. So I don't know if you've seen all the cool work we've done around Azure OpenAI Service and our Service Copilot product. I'm sure Bobby spoke to it when he was on. We've now released 2 additional use cases or features beyond just the time entry automation, which we've been super excited about for some time.
Do you want to demo anything?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Great. Down on the bottom, there's a present button.
All right. Sharing the screen.
We're so tiny in the corner now.
Here we go. All right. Awesome. Can you see everything okay?
I can.
Beautiful. So I think the saying or conventional wisdom now is that every company is an AI company. Sorry?
Oh, I was just agreeing. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's no secret, right? You can build an integration to Azure OpenAI or even just OpenAI by itself. For us, it's what you do with that integration and it's what you do with your secret sauce as a company, right? And for us, it's having the conversational interface on both sides and the conversational data set. And what I mean by that is today, we're helping the MSP and the MSP's team prioritize and automate time entries more efficiently. And very, very soon, we'll be releasing categorization as well.
So how's that going to work?
Yeah, absolutely. So very much like what you're seeing here with prioritization, right? We're using natural language prompts to define exactly what is a P1, a P2, a P3 based on how your team prioritizes requests. There are defaults that come to the platform mapped to your specific priorities, but really the secret sauce is working with your team to adapt those templates to get down to a 90+% accuracy rate. So for example, if for instance you have a VIP customer who really loves pizza, and their pizza being cold is a P1, you could go ahead and say, bang. So not only would we make the recommendation, we'd also prioritize it accordingly, which would then kick off workflows to escalate it within the PSA and contact, say, the tech on call.
Wonderful.
So pretty excited about that. And then on the categorization side, same idea, right? Your service catalog in the PSA will ingest and then will help you translate it into prompts So you're up and running to value very quickly with the AI.
So how long until you are automating responses to the end user and just fixing the problem?
So I think responses to the end user is a lot closer than fixing the end problem. Uh, for us, until large language models and our ability to kind of put rails around them so that the bot isn't responding with anything like hallucinating, or really isn't responding with anything helpful to the end user. We want to make sure that we're optimizing and delivering a great experience and a valuable experience on the tech side before we extend to the end user.
I've heard that term before from another vendor. Is hallucinating like what they call it when the bot starts losing its mind and going rogue?
Yeah, exactly. So when it's prompted for something and then it makes stuff up, that's called a hallucination.
Gotcha. But my understanding is it's always a hallucination because the bot is just how I gotta find the right words in the right order, like a bot. The bot is saying these words in this particular order is the most likely response I should give based on everything that I've read on the internet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that. Go ahead. Sorry.
So I'm sorry. So and I guess what I'm trying to say is, doesn't that go back to just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true?
Yeah,
It was a quote by Abraham Lincoln, I think.
Yeah. And then the other one was, I'll attack you with the North, I think, right? But that's where the beauty of all the great work that our AI PhD engineer and the team behind him are doing from a prompt engineering standpoint is that we're able to ensure that the responses, the outcomes from the bot are useful in, controlling exactly how it's prompted, when it's prompted, and the kind of temperature and control settings that are used in doing so.
Got it. So you've basically figured out how to tame the beast, if you will, so that it's not so creative and gives information that's more likely to be accurate.
Exactly. Yep. And it reduces the range of responses or types of responses that can be given to the tech, or that can be written back to the PSA from a priority or categorization standpoint. It's all value based. It's all predictable.
Yeah, and so you're using Azure OpenAI, right?
That's right. Yep.
Okay. So I just want to give people a because I don't know that everybody's done this. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen real quick. I feel like I need to make up some hold music. Okay, so this is what the OpenAI playground looks like. So I'm not saying this is what your settings are, but this will give people an idea of what types of controls there are on artificial intelligence or large language. Is it large language models? LLM?
Yep. That's right.
Okay. So you can pick which model you want to use.
By the way, we can't see your screen share, or at least I can't.
That's because I'm dumb. There we go.
Aha.
Aha. So you can pick which model you want to use, and they show three to, because these are the three most popular, but they've got a bazillion. Well, maybe they don't have a bazillion. It seemed like they had more at one point. I have access to GPT-4 because, I requested it and they gave it to me. They've got different modes, and I guess two of them are legacy modes now. You mentioned temperature earlier. That controls the randomness.
Mhm.
And then there's the maximum length. So I think this is basically saying, here's how much we're going to output, which affects how much we're going to charge you. Is that correct?
Exactly right. So, and there are kind of levers underneath each decision point, which drive like the number of inference tokens, the number of completion tokens, and ultimately the tokens are what drive the cost.
And then they've got a few things that, I'll be honest, don't make sense to me. They got one called Top B, and that just, makes the child in me giggle.
Yeah. Thankfully, I'm not the technical guy, so I don't have all the secret sauce. But we'll get Mark, our CEO, on the next time, and he'll be able to talk exactly to what Top P is. But I think for us, the real differentiator between using OpenAI directly and Azure OpenAI Service is that we have of course, a great partnership with Microsoft, but B, there's all of the compliance and security and kind of that happens in the background before the output even gets to us to present.
So my point in showing this really was to say, there's a lot that goes into before you even get to the prompt. There's a lot of settings that you can change that will affect what your response is. They've got frequency penalty, how much to penalize new tokens based on their existing frequency in the text so far, presence penalty, and then, like I said, the Top P, which controls diversity via nucleus sampling. I have no idea what that means.
I wish I did.
All good, man. All good. So with that said, you guys are doing cool things. Now, with your platform, are you guys using, I guess, prompts, for the lack of a better term, in the back end when you're feeding things into OpenAI or Azure OpenAI? Are you able to share, like, what does an example prompt look like?
Yeah, I think the best way to see that would be if I can share I can share a link with you to the customer story that Microsoft featured us in, and in that story is a video. I don't know if I can share it with you here. There we go. It is a video that shows exactly that, how we kind of manage the prompts and the iteration of the prompts behind the scenes, and then deliver the output to the tech.
Perfect. And I'm just opening that up. Thread creates game-changing solution for IT service providers with Azure OpenAI service. And you're right, there is a little video there. So what I'll do is I will include the link to that article in the show notes, because I want people to be able to check that out. I think I really like what you guys are doing. I want to, give you the benefit of the doubt, unlike maybe that other guy who has a sour taste in his mouth. I think mistakes happen, and as long as they don't keep happening.
And they will. And like I said before, I have a compliance background, as does our CEO and my co-founder, and we take it all quite seriously. And really, what we're here to do is we're here to empower people to do their best work, both within the MSP and within the MSP's customers, all of their users, and and the only way to do so is to make sure that we're fundamentally secure, fundamentally doing our best from a data sovereignty and data control standpoint. And we very much will and intend to do so.
And one of the other things that I believe it's part of your Copilot service is it will create ticket time entries for us. So it's not gonna log the time entry in the PSA, but or will it?
It will. So the logging in the PSA requires a manual action today. But essentially what it does is it takes a look at all of the transcript, the back and forth, whether it be via email or chat, some combination of the two in the session between the end user and the tech. And then it drafts a time entry for the tech who initiates the time entry action. So if you have multiple resources helping out on the same request, it'll draft from that user or from that tech's point of view exactly what they did within the context of that session.
So with my MSP, whenever I called a client earlier and they didn't answer, so I left a voicemail, and that's a time entry. And then they called back and they left a voicemail, and now I'm calling back, and that's another time entry. And this time I got to speak with them, right? So how does that work? Same ticket, multiple lines of communication happening. Is it going to get confused, or does it know that, like, hey, I made a time entry here, so the next time I make a time entry, it should only do from here down?
Yep, exactly. So I think taking a step back, the beauty of being where the end user is, right? In their tenant, in their Slack workspace, in their intranet, wherever you might be, the number of calls back and forth should hopefully decrease. But from an ordered in time and an integrated standpoint, absolutely, it won't go back past the last entry. It'll start exactly where the last entry stopped.
Wonderful. That would make things really, really nice for the technicians, especially the ones who are great technicians, but for whatever reason are terrible with grammar and spelling.
Yeah. That was
I remember our CEO threatened to send everybody to some kind of grammar and spelling class, or buy everyone a dictionary. I don't know. He gets
a grammar license.
He's I don't blame him. I mean, when a company has hundreds of time entries in a single day, and I don't know how many people we have that are going through and like approving and posting the time entries, but that's a lot to go through, and I don't blame him for wanting to, because every single time there's something screwed up, he kicks it back and we have to correct it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, not only do the frontline engineers love the feature, to your point, service delivery managers, service delivery directors love it even more so because they spend way less time doing time entry review. The amount of time the techs are spending or requests and the number of techs on requests goes down over time. And certainly a much higher fidelity and level of time entry because it spells everything correctly. And, it's really optimizing for just a clear itemization of what happened.
Very cool. So is there anything else that you think we need to know about Thread today?
Keep your eyes peeled for what we've got through the rest of the year. It's a little too early for me to speak to it, but I think we're really excited about certainly what we'll be launching at DattoCon, but IT Nation end of the year. Stay tuned.
Man, I can't wait. Well, sir, thank you so much for hopping on here and doing this with me. I do not have any live questions from the audience, so there's no point in sitting here and milking it. We're going to wrap up.
All right. Thank you so much, Steve, for your time, and have a good one.
My pleasure. You too, man. Thank you.
Take care.